YouTube? Welcome back to Diego's Aviation. As I mentioned last week, I said that I had recently purchased a new model that I would be conducting an unboxing video and review of in my Airlines Gemini 200 Embraer 190 review video that I posted last week. And here it is finally. This is the model I was talking about, the NG Models National Airlines Boeing 757-200. I purchased this model last week on a website called The Spruce Brothers for $45. And I know that NG Models, they put a lot of effort into making their 757s look absolutely incredible. And so this is going to be my first impression on NG Models. So without further ado, here's the box. I realized that NG Models, they do like special boxes similar to Phoenix Models, where they would put the aircraft there with the entire hue, with a big hue in the background of the aircraft of the airline's livery itself. So as you can see, be showing the box. There's the aircraft itself, the National Airlines 757. There's not much special. It's licensed by Boeing, this aircraft. So you can see, here's a review of the box. Here's the tag that it came with from the Spruce Brothers. Same thing goes for the back. And if you have Instagram, I highly recommend you follow NG Models on their social media outlets and also on their website for any new releases, as they are a new model maker. They're rather new. They're not really known that well around the world just yet, but I highly recommend following them on all their social media outlets for any updates, because NG Models has been making quite an appearance lately in the 1 in 400 collecting industry. So now, without further ado, we'll unbox the model. So give me 1 second and I'll go ahead and get it out for you. So NG Models, unlike GeminiJets, they come in a plastic covering as well, but in a foam box right here where the model sits. And so there she is, sitting in there. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take it out. You gotta be really careful because you don't want to pull out any of the control surfaces on the way out in the foam box. And there it goes. Just take off the plastic covering there. All right, just put this back. And there it is. Absolutely fantastic looking model. The level of detail in this thing, it's truly amazing. So as I told you, there it is, National Airlines Boeing 757. This aircraft, I looked up the tail number, as you can see right here. Oh, sorry. As you can see right there, there's a tail number, number 567 Charlie Alpha. And I looked up this tail number on airfleets.net, and turns out that this aircraft is former American Airlines. This aircraft actually used to operate for American, which is pretty impressive and also quite ironic since American recently retired their Boeing 757s a few weeks back. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and start with the review. So, we'll start up on the front of the aircraft here. So as you can see, 1 second while I get my pointing device. There we go. So, we got the front of the aircraft, the very nicely printed cockpit windows. This comes with a different texture than GeminiJets, because GeminiJets, they don't normally put like a metallic grayish hue on its 757s, but this one appears to have a nice one, a nice silver hue on the sides of the windows. There's the nose cone right there, and you have the pitot tubes on this side. Starting over here, now we have the L1 door right here, and right here is the very detailed 757 landing gear. GeminiJets, they don't normally put their landing gears as detailed for the 757, because if you notice, 757's landing gear are very different. They're much taller, and they have a lot of different stuff sticking out of them, and I think that NG Models did a good job on putting detail into the landing gear for the 757. So, as you can see, and also on the gear door, the last 3 digits of the registration, 567. And give me 1 second, I'm sorry. It's just that. There we go. Let's move it closer. All right. Let it focus. Probably is too much lighting. There we go. So, as I mentioned, the L1 door right there. There's more of the passenger windows in the cabin. And I must mention that if you follow this YouTuber on any outlet, Sam Chewy, the world famous aviation blogger, actually flew on this very exact National Airlines 757 aboard a special cargo mission, transporting masks from China through Japan into Anchorage, and then that's where he boarded. He boarded this aircraft in Anchorage, and he flew to Chicago with this exact 757. And he did a review on how National conducts their cargo operations, and also how currently National Airlines is using these 757s for special cargo missions. So, back to the review. So, as you can see, the very nicely printed National Airlines titles. The website, as you can see there, www.nationalairlines.aero. Now, moving back, you have once again the other door, and this one is actually very, very nicely detailed, because if you can see, it actually has all of the emergency procedure markings, which are pretty impressive. And over here we have the two radio antennas on top and the bottom. And right here, very detailed engine. Right here, this is the Rolls-Royce RB211. So right there you have the Rolls-Royce logo. They even put the texture of where the engine separates for reverse thrust, which is actually very impressive. Right here you have a cooling vent that they have for the RB211s, the nacelle, and the exhaust airway. So, and right here you have the two emergency exit doors on the windows, the pathway markings right here, the very nicely detailed texture to the wings. Right here you have these the Vortex Generators, the leading slots, and the trailing edge slots, as you can see there, and the very nicely detailed winglet, as you can see, with the National Airlines texture to it. It did come with a bit of like a silver gap there, as you can see, like it overlaps the swing of the white stripes, but it does look okay. And right here you have the red navigation light, and moving along you see the flaps, the spoilers. Over here you have the speed brakes and the ailerons. Looks very impressive, the textures to the wings. So moving on with more of the passenger windows, starting on now with the red stripe that lines the entire aircraft. Two more radio domes there. Now this is where the blue hue of the National Airlines livery starts. So moving back, another radio antenna here, two static ports there. And right here, the emergency exit door that's closest to the tail. Give me 1 second, let this thing focus. Sorry, I'm just trying to set this up. There we go. So, as I mentioned, the rearmost emergency exit door, the tail number, November 567 Charlie Alpha. Over here we have the vertical stabilizer and the horizontal stabilizer. Right here, the highly detailed APU. Very nice textures to the elevators here, and also to the tail. As you can see, what I really love about what NG Models did to the 757 is the textures to the rudders on the tail, as you can see there. Looks very, very impressive. So now, moving on to the back side of the aircraft. As I mentioned, the very nicely printed painting to the APU, the textures to the vertical stabilizer, the horizontal stabilizer really looks nice. And moving on to the other side, same thing right here, the nice textures there. The tail number, November 567 Charlie Alpha, and right there, there's the other rearmost door, another static port on this side, passenger windows here, another static port, and the radio antenna down there. Over here I have the cargo door, the rear cargo door right there for the cargo compartment. Moving on, now the other side of the wing, same little issue there with the winglet texture. Oh, sorry, let it focus. There we go. It does have the same slight issue. It's not like that bad, but I'm not sure if oh goodness, if this was focused. There we go. So as I mentioned, like it does have a bit of a gap to it with the silver hue here, and if you notice, the texture kind of overlaps with the white stripes of the national livery, but it does look okay. I like it. So right here, the Vortex Generators. Right there we have the Vortex Generators, very nicely. What I really love is how this texture to the wing actually reflects off the aircraft. And if you can see there, as I'm pointing each detail out, it actually reflects the detail, which is really, really beautiful. I really like that. So as you can see there, so it's a very, very beautiful paint job that they have done to this. So more good textures to the wings, the speed brakes, the trailing edge slats, spoilers, and the leading edge flaps. And over here, the other engine, the other RB211, the Rolls-Royce logo right there, the nacelle, the very nicely printed textures to the engines itself, and the exhaust. And over here, you have the 757 landing gear down there, which I'll get to in a moment. The two other emergency exit doors. Moving on back, moving on back, the nicely printed National Airlines titles. The other door with the markings there. Once again, and as I told you, the special 757 landing gear, tall, with all the mechanism pointing out. It's really, really nice. And the other door onto the right side of the aircraft. Now moving on to the front. Alright, moving on to the front. Give me 1 second to go with focus right there. There we go. So as I mentioned, the nicely printed cockpit windows. I really like how they incorporated the silver metallic hue to the sides of the cockpit windows. And over here, the two pitot tubes on the sides, the windscreen wipers right there. Now moving on to move down here. Let's see if this is focused. There we go. So as I mentioned, the nicely detailed landing gear. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, it's just that the lighting is not cooperating. There we go. So, as I mentioned, it has the taxi lights right there. Tires very nicely detailed. The engines, they look really, really nice from this side. The details to the fan blades there. Unfortunately, I do have to advise you of one thing, one little flaw that's common amongst NG models, especially in the 757s, is that the engines are a little flimsy, as you can see. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm sorry. Alright. Alright, come on, let's focus. There we go. So as I mentioned, every NG model 757 has a little flaw, as you can see here, where like the engines, they are a little flimsy. They do move, but they're not like loose exactly, but I would advise being careful with that. And now let's move on to the top side of the aircraft now. Let me just move some stuff over here. So very nice detail to the top side. Right here, as I told you, the very nice textures to the vertical stabilizers. Right here. Moving on, nothing much to see up here other than the antennas here, the emergency pathway markings, and the wings. What are very unique about them is that they're actually attached to the fuselage, not sort of like GeminiJets where they would have one single piece that attaches to the fuselage. These are actually two pieces that attach to the fuselage, which are very nice. So right here, the emergency pathway markings for the wing exits, the winglets, the red navigation light there, and the green navigation light. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there it is. Okay, so now moving on, we have another radio antenna up here. Right here we have the beacon light over here. More radio antennas moving onto the front of the aircraft. And that covers the top. Now, to cover the bottom side of the aircraft, this is the tricky part where you have to make the aircraft stand. Alright, it's not gonna stand, but I'm gonna try and keep it. I'm gonna try and hold it. Alright, in 1 second. Sorry, it's a little difficult to get all these movements going. Okay, bear with me. Okay. So now, we have the underside of the airplane. There's the underside of the vertical stabilizers. Moving on, you have another radio antenna on the bottom there. You have the very nicely detailed landing gears here. They do roll, which is a good thing. Right there. The spoilers on the bottom there, to the edges of the wingtips. Right here you have the very nicely detailed gear doors right here, where the gears retract. The stand hole here, more nice textures to the bottom of the engines. Now moving on to the top, you have another radio antenna and nicely detailed gear doors to the top of the aircraft, and another static port there. And right here, you have another cargo door right there next to where it says National. And so that concludes the review of this airplane. I hope you enjoyed the video. And let me just set this back here. All right, now closing thoughts. I believe that this model is definitely worth buying by all means necessary. This model, even though I got it, normally you would find these on eBay being sold outside of the United States, more like in China and Hong Kong, as I mentioned. I got this off of the Spruce Brothers. I'm pretty sure they still sell them right now. So if you want to, go ahead and look up NG Models 1/400 scale, National Airlines, Boeing 757-200, and look for it on that website, the Spruce Brothers, because they're probably one of the only ones that sell this model in the US so far. Because I've looked on eBay and they sell these models in Hong Kong and China for like $70, and that's going to take much more time for shipping. But NG Models, they are a rather new model brand that are based out of China, and they have been getting some good and bad reviews. I respect everyone's opinion, and I'm pretty sure you're probably going to be asking if I have any commentary on the recent scandal that happened with GeminiJets apparently suing NG Models for those copyright infringements that they had committed over the United 757-200s that they were making in the Her Art Here liveries. Now, let me clarify on that thing, because I know that there are many collectors who are going to be asking, what is going on here, considering that this is NG Models? Well, because here's the thing. United Airlines, they made the Her Art Here livery for one purpose, and it was because they wanted to showcase the talents of female artists on their aircraft, so like a flying canvas. And so they were able to hire two artists that have each of their artwork branded under their names. I know that one was from New Jersey and the other one was from San Francisco, and they both designed the liveries for the aircraft, and they were both accredited for it from United. So the issue that GeminiJets had with this was that NG Models, they did not get the exact copyright permission from the artists themselves. And this sparked a lot of anger within them, because GeminiJets, they always play by the rules by making their models under all the copyright jurisdiction. But since in China the jurisdiction for these for copyright the copyright laws in China are a little bit different than the U.S., they obliged by theirs. But since the model they were making was an American aircraft, they had to apply the jurisdiction from the U.S. So that's what's going on. But right now, NG Models, they have already fixed the issue. They have clarified the issue with GeminiJets and with the artists and with United Airlines as well. And they were able to release the two aircrafts already this month. So if you want to buy those, definitely go out and get them, because I'm pretty sure that they're very nice looking models from the pictures that I've seen. But no, I just wanted to clarify that, because I was pretty shocked to see that too, because I was looking into getting NG Models way before the entire incident happened between GeminiJets and NG Models. But nevertheless, both model brands are absolutely brilliant. I do have a good amount of GeminiJets in my collection, and I plan to add on more NG Models as well as GeminiJets into my collection. So for those of you who are quite angered by that situation, don't really judge a book by its cover. I would definitely recommend keep on collecting GeminiJets, keep on collecting NG Models. Don't just start saying because GeminiJets had some issues with NG Models that means we're gonna boycott GeminiJets. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Because for those of you who don't know, the president and founder of GeminiJets, Mr. Elliot Epstein, always tells his customers, buy these models for your entertainment solely, not for investment. And please disregard the investment part, because these models are definitely amazing for one to enjoy in their collection and to have on a desk, or even build a model airport like how I have. And later I will be making a review on my model airport. with the rest of my models, with my GeminiJets, with my Phoenix models, with my Aero Classics, and including this 757. And trust me, you'll see some more NG models coming up in the future, and I definitely think that, I'll just say it right now, I've seen GeminiJets 757s before at the airplane shop. I was able to take a look at an old released Omni Air International 757 and a United 757 released just a few months back, and this toppled it off. This one is just amazing in the quality and the detail that NG models have put into it. So trust me when I say I definitely think that NG Models is a good competitor to GeminiJets, but I won't say that either manufacturer is better than the other. They're both very good. I'm not really to judge. I love collecting these models for my entertainment and for my entertainment only, not for my criticism. But of course, constructive criticism is always a good thing, so long that you just maintain yourself in the boundaries. So that clears up the entire issue with GeminiJets and NG Models. And trust me when I say, you should, if you're into getting into NG Models, trust me, do it. Even if you collect GeminiJets, you can really match up these models with GeminiJets. So continue collecting, have fun with these models, and yep, there it is, my brand new National Airlines Boeing 757-200